Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the fourth episode of the Trenches podcast. Super excited as always. This is going to be a good one. This is with a good friend of mine, Jadde Rowe. As you're going to hear, he's from up north. He has a little bit of an accent. Gotta love it. But he is absolutely crushing it in the residential real estate space. You're going to hear a little bit about his backstory. He didn't start in the real estate space at all. So you're going to hear a little bit about that journey. And also, Jade and I at one point in time thought we were going to start a podcast. So we recorded a few episodes. You're going to hear about that in the podcast here. But wanted to quickly remind you, if you need another way to listen to us, not sure where you're watching this or listening to it now, but we are on Facebook under the Trenches Podcast. We're on YouTube under my personal name, Kyle Grimm. And then you can search on Apple or Spotify podcast for the Trenches with Kyle Grimm. So thanks for listening or watching, and enjoy. All right, Mr. Jadde Rowe, thanks for being on the show. How are you doing?
I am doing great, Kyle. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Hey, it's been a while actually. The last time we did this, we were probably recording an episode of what was it called? Disciplined.
London driven, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
Yep.
So yeah, not many people know about that. We at one point in time, Jade and I were going to do a podcast together. We had all good intentions. We recorded what, maybe two or three episodes.
Three, I think. Yep. Three episodes.
Yeah, and just realized like, our goals at the time, it just didn't really align. And we were so busy. You were getting
Mhm.
going with your real estate business. And so we put it on pause. But here I am doing my own now, and having you on as guest. So yeah,
Yeah.
super excited.
Happy beer.
So for those that don't know, Jade,
Mhm.
will you just give us a few minute background, like who you are, what you do? This podcast, The Trenches, is like, I'm interviewing all kinds of different people in different businesses, different walks of life. You're in real estate a
Mhm.
lot. So just tell people kind of what that looks like. What does your life look like right now?
Yeah. So I am 27 years old and live in Minneapolis, Minnesota, or I should say like a suburb outside of Minneapolis, Minnesota. This is my fourth year in real estate. I am basically a full-time residential real estate agent. I'm a part of a team of now we're up to 15 agents. I was kind of one of the OG agents, I would say. I think I was the fifth agent to join, and I actually have a few guys underneath me now as well that I'm helping train and coach and mentor and get started. But it's been a fun journey. I started out in leasing and property management, so had my license, but was doing leasing and property management for investors. And then wanted to change kind of avenues and paths I went down, and a mentor of mine mentioned his team, and I joined the team in a quick heartbeat because it was just a no brainer for me to join his team, and that was at when was that? I was 20, basically end of 2019. So 3 years now buying and doing buy and sell only, and then 1 year of the kind of investment leasing and property management that I was in.
Cool. Well, I know you have more backstory even than that, right?
Mhm.
Because if I remember right, you were in like a completely different field of work out of college. Is that right?
Yeah, I got a degree in economics and like basically it was called supply chain management, and was doing internal audit for a Fortune 500 company, and did that for a year and a half outside of school. Right out of college, I needed a job. I was completely broke from college and just needed a job ASAP. So I got something and got some bills, got some money, I guess, again. But yeah, 6 months into that role, I knew I didn't want to do that for the rest of my life. And my family has real estate. I was involved in real estate my entire life. My grandpa and my mother own about 150 units. So and they only own. I mean, they probably when I was growing up, they've expanded a lot since even I've kind of come aboard and helped them and done things and refreshed their mind. But when I was growing up, they probably had 50, 60 doors, which is still a lot.
Okay. Who did you say owned that?
My It's basically my grandpa, my mom, and my grandma that own
Okay.
majority share in all of them. They are broken up a little bit. I have some equity in some of them that I've helped with. But majority share is basically with my mother and with my grandpa.
Cool. Okay. So yeah, was that a big influence on why then you headed that direction? I mean, it sounds like they're in more like the investing side of things.
Yeah.
It looks like you went more into the realtor side, right?
Yep. Yeah. So I think early on, I was at my job and I just saw, my manager was probably early 30s, middle age 30, maybe 34, 35. Great, awesome manager. But I just kind of saw the stress that she had to go through with not being able to like see her kids. Her husband was also like in a corporate position, probably manager of some sort, and it just seemed like a lot of headache where she was trying to get to their stuff, pick them up, all that kind of stuff. And my mom, I mean, I remember growing up, could just take a day off of work or work from anywhere. So like she would be making phone calls if I was sick from her house, right? And she just seemed to have that flexibility that I wanted. And my grandpa was, my grandpa's 80, like 88 at this point, 87. He was, in his 70s, and he was golfing and, working hard, but could just go play around a golf. And, seeing that kind of lifestyle is what intrigued me about it. Um, and then I got into leasing and property management because I initially was like, hey, I want to get some additional experience that I can bring to kind of the family business. And then through that process, I learned, well, one, to buy some of these properties and to invest in real estate, I believe a lot of different opinions, but I believe that like, especially some of your first ones, like maybe you should do on your own and you need some decent income to do that. And I wasn't making much income doing leases. I just wasn't doing a lot of work for very little output. And that's where I was like, hey, let's explore this real estate agent path because my mentor at the time was doing extremely well as a real estate agent and buying investment property. And his whole goal was to use his real estate sales business to grow his real estate investment business.
Yep. Yeah. So you and I'm trying to think we met, was it through the Jake and Gino community? Is that actually
Yep.
okay? So, they're all about buying larger apartment buildings. And I remember, back in the day, both of us were kind of trying to find our avenue in
Hmm.
what we wanted to head towards next. Why did you decide to go like that, go towards like the realtor route, rather than, like Jake and Gino preach like the larger syndications, like, hey, go and, take down these 100, 200 unit apartment buildings, raise the money. I'm just curious, why was it that you chose that route that you
Yeah.
did?
Yeah, it's a great question. Truth be told, I honestly needed an income, and the more that I looked into chasing down these large deals and all that, it can work. But I think the in my personal opinion, the fallacy of you need like zero money is a little misleading. Because even one of my friends who's kind of our age, I remember, he needed to get into his first deal, he needed like 80 G's, and I did not have that. He got that money from buying a duplex and then flipping it and made 80,000 on the sale, right? So that was how he kind of entered in and was able to bring a little bit of skin into the game. So there's an avenue of that works. But I also, as I learned more about it, like, specifically syndication, I know that it's great. But it's in my mind just a flip of a massive. It's a flip. It's just a flip of an apartment building. You make a lot of money, and the GPs get great splits. They get acquisition fees, but even some of those big guys, I know that they're making just a big ac fee, and they're not making anything for the first couple of years, and then they're trying to basically sell it. And their two big paydays are the ac fee and the sale or refi, which
Yep.
again is great. But for me, I literally needed an income at that time to even survive. I had moved back with my parents. I had sold my fancy car. Like I needed something. And there was also a part of me that's, you and I talked about this of, I'd rather go into a deal with just you and I. We have very similar values. We have very similar work ethic. If you needed money for a deal, I'd be happy to be a limited partner and just throw you money, and work that out. There's a certain element of I just didn't feel that I was wanting to go down the path of these massive syndications because I saw guys in my life that were selling a lot of real estate as an agent and then going and buying properties. not just little duplexes, 8 units, 10 units. And I know guys that are even buying commercial, triple net lease commercial buildings with their income that they're making on as a salesperson. You don't have to be a real estate agent. You can be another salesperson or a different avenue, but they were owning these properties 100% themselves. And they were going to live off of that, you know, cash
Yeah.
flow, depreciation, be able to cost seg it, all of that. And it was 100% theirs. And my grandpa and my parents, that's the avenue they went down. And that's the avenue that I kind of wanted to go down. And I'm not saying it can't change, but at that
Yeah.
time, I did think syndication was the way. But as I learned more about it, I think zero money is a little misleading. And if I got a nice act fee, that's great, but I wasn't going to get the full. If it was 100 grand
Yeah.
act fee, maybe I'll get 10 grand, maybe I'll get 20. And that wasn't going to be enough to even just pay my bills at the time.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we both have friends that are like, doing really well at it,
Mhm.
but there's a lot of good points there. And there's certain guys out there who have like the gurus out there who are preaching like, how easy syndications are and how anyone can do it and make a ton of money. And you're right. I mean, it's just it does take money to do it, and it's pretty complicated for someone who's not very experienced. But
Yep.
so you were talking about there that you needed money, like you wanted to jump into being a realtor to start making money. So I'm a realtor as well, and I know when I got started as a realtor, it took me quite a while to like get my wheels spinning.
Yeah.
How did that, like, what did the first year look like for you? I mean, was it
Yeah.
like, hey, you were selling $1 million houses day one, or what did that look like?
Um, no, I think your year one in real estate needs to be, if you're going to be a real estate agent, I think your year one, um, you need to put almost everything away for your life. Like you almost need to set everything else aside. Um, my year one, I did 100 open houses. I cold called left and right. I met with tons of lenders. I met with inspectors. I was posting a bunch on social media. I worked part time as a fitness coach to make some money. It took me 3 months to get my first payday, and that came from a guy that I met at an open house. And then while I was cold calling, I talked to a guy that was thinking about selling his duplex, and I got this guy. I reached back out to this guy, and he's like, "Yep, let's go look at it." We put it under contract. Fell through during inspection. Then he trusted me, and we went and looked at homes. Um, I mean, and then I as I grew my social media presence, people saw me. Like I started to get a little bit more buzz going. But my first year in real estate, I did 11 deals. Um,
which
and
is which is, I mean, that's actually extremely good, right? I
yeah,
mean,
you can do one a month essentially. Your first year, you're doing really really well, and
really well.
that is not team leads at all. Like I'm part of a team. Let's make that crystal clear. That is not like me getting a Zillow lead. That is not like the team leader sending me stuff. Their whole business model was, here's your team split. It's very fair. Here's what you get for that team split. But we're not going to send you leads. We're going to teach you how to find your own leads as long as you can put in the work, which I like that business model personally better than them just sending me stuff. So those 11 deals was all me. I found those. Those were my closings. It wasn't a, hey, Jade, I don't want to work with this, or hey, we got an online lead. That was 100% self-generated leads.
Yeah, dude, that's insane. I mean, seriously, I can't remember what I did the first year, but I mean, it was probably like four,
Yeah.
maybe four deals. But yeah, it's one of those things. If you don't go into it, if you go into it thinking that, hey, you're gonna start making money in month number one, it's not for you. I mean, it's a grind to get that business rolling.
Yeah.
What did you find? Like, what was the best way to find leads for you? Was it cold calling? Was it the open houses? I mean, do open houses actually work? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So I'm kind of going through a little bit of a restructure of my business right now, with different things, but open houses work 100%. They work. You just have to sit in them and not be the awkward agent that follows people around. That's what I would say. Like you just got to put in your time. I know people on my team that a guy, a person, buyers come in and they write a contract on that house that day on that spot and get it too, right? And you just have to sit in them, put in the time, not be an awkward agent, talk to people, add value, don't be too pushy, but also control the conversation, and try to get, try to have some sort of follow up plan in place once they leave. 100% works. I know guys that are going all in on open houses because they don't like cold calling. Cold calling 100% can work as well.
Who
I
are you
think
cold calling?
I cold called it mostly investors. I cold called mostly people that were, had a duplex, a triplex, or a fourplex, or a single family that they wanted to potentially sell, or just seeing if they wanted to sell. Right. I did. I mean, I called for sale by owners. I called neighborhoods. I called expireds. I had the most luck with investment property owners because they weren't actually living in the property. So it was more, you go through a bunch of people, and you're going to get no's, you're going to get tons and tons of no's. But I was looking for mainly just the easy ones that were like, yeah, I am thinking about it. And why? They're thinking because they want to get out of that part of the community. They're tired of being a landlord. They want to roll it into a Airbnb down in Florida,
Yep.
whatever the case may be. And I was looking for those kind of quote unquote easier ones versus the ones that I had to battle. Now,
Yep.
not saying it wasn't a battle, but um, it does work. And I think, me personally, I think the best way to find deals, like, I think that first year you kind of just have to do everything. That's my opinion. You kind of have to do a lot of things and figure out what you like and what you don't like. But that first year, you gotta have to just grind and do whatever. Then you can kind of start to pivot on figure out where most of your business is coming from, and how can you kind of pour gasoline on that fire that's going.
Yeah, for sure. You got to do whatever it
And
takes.
what you like what you like too. Like, there is a certain avenue of like, this business will burn you out if you don't like cold calling. If you don't
Yeah.
like open houses, like, don't do that. But I think that year one, you gotta just go, man.
So that actually brings up another question. I've had a couple, I can think of a buddy of mine in particular. So he's a banker, he's a young kid, he's like 22 years old. And he's mentioned multiple times, like, maybe I should get into real estate, as a realtor. What's your response when if someone was to say that to you, like, hey, I'm thinking about being a realtor. I guess my question really is, what kind of person does it take to be a successful realtor? Because here's what I know. Some of my friends, I know, like, a couple of them, like, he's an engineer. He's talked about real estate before as well. And, they're very structured people, and like, the 9 to 5 aspect of things. I'm just curious your thoughts on, what kind of person does it take to actually be like a really successful realtor?
Yeah, that is a great question, and it's funny you bring that up because me and some other guys on my team are kind of talking about that right now. We were kind of talking recently about kind of that it factor. Like, I think I think anybody can be a real estate agent. I do, but I think that there is a certain it factor that it takes for you to be successful, like very successful, and maybe quickly be successful. And that it factor would be somebody that is willing to like be very mentally tough. You need to be very mentally tough because your best friend might buy a house with some other agent. Your mom might sell their house with a different agent. Like, is that going to break you? If your mom sells their house with a different real estate agent, is that going to break you? And that might happen. Like, I am no joke, it might happen. Where you might be working with this awesome lead for 3 months. They're awesome people. You're connecting, you're vibing. You go 1 month without sending them a text message, and they buy a house with a different agent. Not because you did anything wrong, but that's just a heart of the business. You have to take that mentally. Um, and sorry if you were going to say something there.
I was just thinking in the back of my mind, I'm like, I shouldn't ask this question, but what about even uh, certainly this never happens with you like it has with me, but what about like even just some drama that comes up between other agents and, like, sending back and forth offers? Like,
Yeah.
I've had to deal with some things before that's just like, oh
I
man.
mean, like, you have, in my opinion, you gotta be humble, man. You gotta be humble. You gotta be humble, and you do not want an ego. I don't want to work with another agent that has an ego. Like, we're all on the same, playing field here. You and I both want to get the deal done, make our clients happy, but there's a lot of agents out there because you can make really good money and you're branding yourself and all of this nifty, nice cars. A lot of guys and girls with egos. And I think, you sometimes have to be the one that just goes, you know what? Hey, I'm gonna get paid and we're gonna get the deal done. Here you go. It is what it is. For example, I helped out this guy recently this year who he was looking for duplexes, and my team and I would do a lot of duplexes. He came to me, started looking, got some under contract, and while we're pending, he calls me. He's like, "Oh man, I feel really bad. Like, I was actually working with this agent like 4 months ago, looking at single families, but then I switched and wanted to do duplexes. So I reached out to you. And my dad said it was fine. I didn't have any like stuff signed with either one. He said, whoever finds a deal is the one that you should work with. But now I feel bad because it's like a family relationship connection, and they, are kind of wanting to get paid. So he calls me, this agent, and is kind of just has a little bit of an ego to him. And I could have been the guy that had been like, no, dude, like I'm not giving you nothing. But to me, it wasn't worth the drama. Where I was just like, dude, like here, like whatever. You know what I mean? It's okay. It's okay. Make him happy. I'm still happy. Client's happy. We're good, right? I think you need to have some humbleness and not have this ego like you're better than everybody else.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good point.
Especially to continue to be successful, you have to keep that of I'm gonna be humble with wherever I'm at.
Yeah. Yep. I definitely don't know any of those people. Definitely not. So, I guess so like the last couple of years, I mean, you got into real estate like 2019. So real estate was booming, right? I mean, it was kind of on the run up with, low interest rates, COVID happened, a lot of people were wanting to, buy a house. What do you think? And I know this is a hard question, but especially with raising interest rates, I don't know when people are going to listen to this, but I think the rates are going back up again. I know in my area, local banks we're like, shoot, around 7%. I want to say. What does real estate look like to you in the next like year? I mean, are things going to slow down? Is it going to crash? Do you have any idea or any feelings about that?
Yeah. I don't think there's a simple answer. I don't think there's gonna be a crash. Just do not think there's gonna be a crash. I do think there will be prices that come down though. By how much? I don't know. I don't really know. But I think prices will come down. For everything, every asset class, every price point, I think prices will come down. Because it's just, it's kind of the reality of the beast right now. Interest rates are going up so much. I mean, there's some loan officers and lenders that I'm talking to that are thinking it might be 10%.
Oh,
they might get to 10% at some point here in the next year. So that will affect pricing. That will affect home prices. Do I think that it's going to crash? No, I think there is a lot of indicators that show the amount of equity that people have in their houses is way more than what 2008 was. People are locked in a low fixed debt, long term debt that from a single family residential standpoint, like unless they're not, I don't know, outside of like maybe employment factors, if people start losing their jobs and that might affect their mortgage payment, maybe yes. But also there were so many refinances that happened in the last year or two where their mortgage payment might be lower than what it was when they bought it, and
yeah.
they already have this equity. So if one person lost their job and had to go find something, like they might um they might have, they might be able to cover that mortgage payment. And I also just read something that shows there's a lot of people with a lot more savings now than there was back in like the '08 crash. So let if one person does lose their job, the other husband or wife can probably foot that mortgage bill until the other person finds their job through their own job or their savings. I don't think there will be a crash at all. I think
Okay.
there will be a slowdown. I'm already feeling it. I'm already experiencing it, and the prices will come down. But I do not think there was going to be like this crash. And let's just
Yeah.
my always my thought to everything is kind of like let's play it out. Actually, like in my opinion, like let's say it does crash tomorrow, and all homes take $100,000 hit. Luxury homes at $1 million and $300,000 first time home buyer, $200,000 houses all go down by $100,000 or 10% or whatever you want to call it, right? Like something drastic. What is going to happen? Well, all the people, all the investors, especially that missed their opportunity, quote unquote, back in '08, are going to come swooping in. Any home buyer that right now maybe texted me or called me last week that I'm going to wait, that does have money sitting aside. If prices drop, what are they going to do? They're going to come back into the market. So if we do see a substantial, I believe that within a couple months it's going to go right back up, because there's going to be investors that are going to swarm. There's going to be home buyers that are going to swarm, that are waiting for this to happen. And if it does, which I said, let's say it does, it's going to come right back up.
Yeah, for sure. It'll be interesting. I mean, neither one of us were really active in 08, 09, right? I mean, I had no idea. I was in high school. I had no clue what was going on. So now looking back, at what happened back then, I'm trying to make decisions about today. And it's crazy. I don't even know how to explain this. I heard someone talk about it. Maybe you did too, but they're talking about how debt, like, good fixed rate debt is like becoming the asset, because some people have their home locked in at 3%, 4%. Well, you can't do that anymore. So it's like now your mortgage is like an asset, and you could actually, some loans are assumable by other people, and that's a big benefit, to like a new buyer, like, oh, you have a 3% fixed rate debt that I can assume, I'll pay more. So it's just wild, very
Yeah,
interesting times.
I just saw a property where the owner was offering contract for deed financing at 4%.
Wow.
That's pretty that's looking good in a lot of people's eyes, especially it was a 4 unit, especially as an investor. You're like, ooh, I can get that at 4% interest. Like that's way better than getting it at 7% interest.
Yeah. Another interesting situation I had recently, I had a house listed for 100 and like it's like 170,000, something like that. And an older lady, I want to say she was in a bigger house. It was probably like a $230,000 house or something like that. She was wanting to downsize her life into this smaller house. Well, she actually made an offer. We accepted it. She hadn't given us the earnest money yet. It was like a day later, and she canceled. She like pulled the plug, which was a whole other story, very frustrating. But the reason why, come to find out, she pulled the plug was after she talked to her bank, she realized that even by downsizing to that $170,000 house, her mortgage payment was actually going to be going up because
Mm,
interest rates had changed so much. So yeah, it's just odd times, seeing rates go up so much.
makes a big difference, very big difference. It's funny because
Yeah.
I think anybody that I've been doing some past client interviews recently for a little bit of the shift that I'm kind of focusing on. And I had a couple people that bought and sold last year. They sold their house and bought at the same time. They kind of like a move up buyer basically. And it was funny because a lot of them were getting feedback from people last year saying how much, for lack of a term, how stupid they were, how big of idiots they were for buying and selling during last year's crazy market. But all of those people are laughing now because some of them are in their dream home that they would not be able to afford right now. And they sold their home for more than they can sell it for. So are there pros to buying right now? Yes, but I think anybody that was saying you're an idiot for buying and selling last year, like you're probably laughing a little bit because you
Yeah.
locked in such an awesome rate.
Dude, I'm kicking myself. I mean, my wife and I are still house hacking a 4 unit, and I'm not gonna lie, we're getting a little bit claustrophobic, and I would love to buy a house, our first actual single family house. And dude, I'm just like kicking myself. I can't believe, one of my buddies is a mortgage broker, and he had some people down in the low twos, when like a year and a half ago or whenever that was. And dude, now I mean running the payments at 7%, the amount of house I can afford just went off a cliff. It
A
just,
lot, a lot. Yep,
yeah,
yep.
bummer. So I'm curious, when someone comes to you, and wants to buy a house. So you hear this argument. So you hear like not Dave Ramsey, Grant Cardone. He talks about how buying a house is such a stupid idea, and how you should just like rent anywhere you want to live, and then, put your money to work somewhere else. What's your thoughts about that? I mean, do you think buying a house is a good financial decision, or do you think it's, you know, I guess maybe your opinion has changed now with the interest rates, changing so drastically, but do you still recommend, like, especially a young person like coming out of college, to buy a house?
Yeah, easily. I think especially if you do it in a little bit different way than maybe what people typically think. And what I mean by that is like, let's say you're a single guy or a single girl coming out of college, or you got your first job out of college, and you're making some money now, you're saving up some money, and you're like, hey, I could probably maybe get into a house now, right? If you can buy a house with a low down payment, that's a 3 bedroom, 4 bedroom house, and rent out the other rooms to friends, you are winning 100% all day, every day, laughing to go to the bank.
Yeah.
Um, because let's say your mortgage payment, even at current interest rates, like for me, it's like when I talk to people, I'm like, okay, let's play this out. Like, say you get a $300,000 house, your mortgage payments 2 grand even. It's a 4 bedroom. You live in 1 bedroom. You rent out the other 3 bedrooms to buddies or even random people if you want to just grind for a little bit, right? And you rent each of them for $600 a room, which depending on the location is really, in my market in Minnesota, $600 for a room is really good. That's $1,800 that you're getting, and then you literally have to pay only $200 a month while someone else is paying your mortgage. And then if Grant Cardone wants to come in and say, "Hey, you can put your money to work elsewhere," do that. Then you're only paying $200 to live. If you went and rented a single bedroom apartment in my market, it's like $1,000. It's $1,000 or more to rent a nice 1 bedroom apartment. My girlfriend was paying like 1350 or something like that, just base plus utilities, right?
Man.
Like, it's wild here, right? I know that's not always the market, but in my market, I'm like, dude, if you have to pay $200 to $500 a month to live in a place you probably want to live or close to it where you want to live, then all the extra money, if you want to invest in stocks or whatever, you can do that because you have your whole mortgage payment covered. And then if you live there for 3 years, or at least you live there for a year, then you do it again, or you keep it as a rental, or just keep doing what you're doing with other rooms being rented out for 3-4 years, you'll make money. You'll be able to sell it and make, who knows, you
Yeah. I
might
mean,
make
hopefully the
30,
market,
40, 50, 60, 70, like whatever.
yeah, hopefully the market's appreciating, right? I mean,
Mhm.
that's the thing I think about with, buying a house. It's really like a forced savings account. Maybe it's not, if you're not renting out the rooms and it's just you're just living there and you're still forking money out. Every single month, if you track your net worth, every single month you're making a mortgage payment, you're paying a little bit of principal off. So whatever that is, maybe you're paying like $300, $400 of principal off every month. That's just money going right into your net worth. And
Yeah, I
so,
call it I call it a little bit of I call it like our piggy bank of equity is what I call it. Like, you're building this piggy bank of equity that you're going to be able to tap into at some point. You can do a HELOC to go buy an investment property. You could sell, make all this extra money. And what people don't think about is when you're renting, you do have an interest rate, whether you like it or not, or this hurts you by me telling you this, but you do have an interest rate when you are paying rent, and people don't think that they do, but you do have a 100% interest rate. Like, that's your rate. Find me,
that's,
find,
I've never thought of that like
find
that.
me,
That's,
find me the argument. Find me the argument that counterintuits that or whatever. Like, that's 100% interest because none of it is going into that equity.
yeah, dude, that's a good point. That's a
It's
good point.
all going into your landlord's piggy bank of equity because you're paying their mortgage. So would you rather pay their mortgage and make Grant Cardone rich, or would you rather pay your own mortgage and at least pay less interest? Because it's
Correct.
100%
Yeah.
interest. You don't get any of that money back.
Yeah. Don't tell my tenants that. I mean,
No, I won't tell
no,
my.
it really does make sense for certain people to rent. I mean,
Yep.
depending upon the phase of their
100%.
life. But yeah, I mean, that's the beautiful thing about buying real estate as an investment. It's more or less you're buying something, but someone else is paying it off for you. And it's also appreciating hopefully over time. So
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, but if you're not even an investor mindset and you just want to buy a house, you are not paying 100% interest anymore. You're paying 7% interest,
Yep.
right?
So, okay, I want to ask because I know you guys, you're killing it. I mean, you have killed it for the last couple of years. Team Steady, right, is the name of
Mhm.
your team.
Yep.
I see the hat.
Yeah.
So, what is a day in the life look like right now? Especially in a busy time, like when you guys are really slamming. what does your day look like? I mean, like I'm curious. I'm always curious. Like, what time are you waking up? Are you into fitness? Are you on the phones immediately all day? Like, just what does your life look like?
Yeah, it's great. I might be different than other people that you interview because um I think for me, I am in fitness. I love working out. I go through ups and downs of working out. I really got into CrossFit last year, which has been fun. But now I really enjoy endurance stuff, so like triathlons and stuff like that. I really like that. So I'm kind of pivoting back over to that and trying to mix them a little bit because I love my CrossFit community. Um, but what I was going to say is that specifically in my role as a real estate agent, I think that um, is our job a physical, like, is it physically hard? Yes, I think it is more mentally hard than anything. That is, it's more mentally hard than physically hard. It doesn't take much physical effort to sit on your computer and write up an offer or drive to a house and open the door, but the mental battle of when a person drops you, of the hard conversations you need to have, of the intellectual types of conversations you need to have, playing into people's psychology. You're almost a marriage counselor at times. Like,
Yes.
there's a lot that you take on, and that's mentally grinding, not physically like your arms and your muscles grinding. So for me, I do not have like a very structured routine, to be honest, because there are some days, and it's hard. Like, it's one of the reasons why I'm trying to shift a little bit of my way I'm doing business a little bit so I can be a little bit more structured. But there are some nights that I am out to showings until 7, 8 o'clock at night, coming home, eating, writing up stuff, and I'm reading or whatever, doing a little bit, having a little bit of me time or with my girlfriend, and then I'm in bed by 11. And I might not wake up until 7, 7:30 the next day because I'm just exhausted and I need to sleep. But then that next day I might go to bed at 9:30 and wake up at 5:30 to hit a workout at 6:30 a.m. Right. I almost play every day. I try to have a little bit of structure. Like, my mornings are pretty typically like, that's me time. I don't set a ton of meetings between like 8 and noon. Usually my first meetings are like at like 1 or 2 at the afternoon and onward, so that I can do any admin stuff. I can do any social media stuff. I can prospect, whatever, kind of in the morning, and kind of have my me time. But I'll sometimes throw in an 8 a.m. coffee if I really want to meet with this person or want, it needs to happen. But I do not have a crazy, like, oh yeah, I'm up every morning at 5:30 and I look at my vision board for
Yeah.
30 minutes and meditate for the next hour and a half and then work out for 20 minutes and take a cold shower. Like, no, I don't. If you do that, that's awesome. But I think I don't have enough. I've realized that I don't have enough. I honestly don't have enough self-discipline to do that stuff every single day. So I try to create in my life. What I've learned is, what I want to find things that are fun to me. Like, what is fun, right? And so, me waking up and hitting cold calls at 8 a.m. every single day is not fun. I'm not going to get up every single day and want to do that, right? There's some days I don't want to go even to the gym, but I make myself, right? So there is a balance between what's fun and what's not. You do have to choose the hard sometimes. But my point of that is, like, I don't have this, like, oh yeah, 100% every single day I'm hitting
Yeah.
this, because that's just the life of the beast
So,
in my realities. I could get a seller that calls me right now and says, "Hey,
right.
I want to meet with you tonight at 8 to sell my house that I want listed by tomorrow." Like, what am I going to say no to that? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to say no to that. So it's very hard for me to be like, no appointments after this time. Like, I try my best, right? But if something happens, I gotta go.
I know that's how it is too. I mean, for me, even on the investing side of things too, like when you own property, you know how it is. It's like, oh, like this furnace went out and it's 20 degrees out. Like, you got to drop what you're doing and call, an HVAC guy or, a plumber, whatever you're dealing with. It's very, I wake up in the morning kind of knowing like this is what I need to get done, but it is definitely tough to maintain, like, oh, from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. I'm doing this. And then from, this time to this time, it's hard to do that, I found.
Yep.
But you're talking about, well, I guess the question I want to ask is, can you disclose, like, tell me a horror story, like one of your worst clients or worst transactions or tenants. Do you have any horror stories that you think of?
Oh, let me think here. Let me think. Okay, I mean, man. I had yeah, let me think here. So I had one, I had a couple that I helped buy a house last year that we would go do showings. And then after the showings, they would take about an hour to talk about it. And then every single night we would have, not every single night, but every night that we would do showings, which was 2 or 3 nights a week, we'd have probably an hour long conversation after. Um, and this was during the, kind of height of the seller's market, I'll call it. And I remember we got a property at list price, which was just like not even fathomable, like during that time, or like it just didn't happen. So we got a list price. They were pumped. I was pumped, right? We then got them $5,000 of seller credits. So we got them $5,000 towards their cash close, which again, during that market and timing of last year, you just was unheard of, right? So we won all day. We won once we finally got this house. Come day of closing, I'm in San Diego with on a friend trip for like a long weekend, and I have an agent of mine cover my final walkthrough. He shows up, and there is a chunk of carpet missing about that big in the corner, um, and the toilets are all like brown. Everything else is clean, but the toilets are brown, and there's this massive chunk of carpet missing. And basically, I'm in San Diego, and now I'm dealing with this, which was awesome. And again, I think kind of back to your old point, like if you're not willing to deal with that kind of stuff, if you're on vacation, like maybe real estate isn't what you want it to be. Like my friends were literally on the beach, and what did I have to do? I had to walk over across the off the beach, sit down in a chair, and start making phone calls. But anyways, so they were obviously mad. They didn't want to close. And what was the problem was if ours didn't close, the sellers made an offer contingent on our closing, and then that house that they were buying, that was also contingent on another one.
Oh
So I
no.
was literally the foundation. If ours did not close, there was going to be one, two other transactions that did not happen, and they were all going to fail.
Oh
All
man.
going to fall through.
That gives me anxiety.
So I call a listing agent, and I'm again like it's one of those times where like, can I be stern? Yes, I can be stern, but I'm not gonna be an asshole for lack of their term. Like I'm just be like, hey, like here's the photos. Like obviously they're not very happy. Like what's going on? This wasn't in the disclosures. And they're like, oh yeah, like I'll that's a bummer. Let me see what happened. Let me see what happened. Right. I get back from them. Look, the sellers bought the house with that, forgot to repair it, forgot to put it in the disclosures, and just covered it up with a chair in the living room and forgot about it. Which, okay, yes and no, that's fine, I guess. But you wouldn't have thought of like, hey, when you're moving your furniture out, being like, oh yeah, I forgot about this piece of carpet that was gone, and send that over to us so we don't see it at least on the day before closing. Like
Yeah.
that would have been helpful. Um, so I end up. Go ahead. Do you have a question, quick?
Well, I was just gonna ask, like, did the suspense is killing me? Did it end up closing?
It did end up closing. I ended up, and then I basically told the sellers like, you need to give us money, and they're like, no, we already gave you $5,000, which was unheard of in this market. We're not giving it. We didn't know about it. We forgot about it. And my buyers were like, they need to give us money. They need to give us money. And I got like a quick carpet quote from my guy that says I could probably patch that for like $1,000 and change both toilets for another $300-400. So it's like a $1,400 bill. I got the sellers to pay us $200. I fronted $500 of my own money just to get it closed and been like, here's $700 towards it. Can we close it? Yeah, we can close it. And we close it.
That's what it takes. That's what it
Yep.
takes. Yeah, that's man. Some of those, oh man, I can't imagine having like multiple deals all hanging on that one and then knowing the pressure of that. Oh,
Yep.
yikes.
So that's
Oh,
one of those things where it's like, was that physically draining? Not really, but being in San Diego with friends and dealing with that is a pretty big mental hit.
yeah.
So I think if you're I don't know, if you're an agent, you gotta have some way to keep your mind sharp too, and just like release some mind anxiety or pressure.
What is that for you?
For me, that's my faith 100%. Like I got Bible studies every week. I firm believer in Jesus Christ, and getting into the Bible every single day or a couple times a week is the way that I keep my ground. If I didn't have that, I might be really into drinking or other
Yeah.
things that could be crazy. I don't know, but that is what allows me and to keep going,
Yeah.
because I have that hope and I have that rock and that foundation. Other guys that are in real estate or other sales jobs that are grinding, but we're all doing it for that reason, and pump each other up and encourage each other from that lens versus the just make more money so you can buy nicer toys.
Yeah, for sure. If you don't have some sort of like fallback and something to ground you, dude, it's probably not worth it. But what okay, so what does like 10 years from now look like for you, do you think? Do you think you'll still be grinding as a realtor? Are you going to start focusing more on, investing, or are you going to start a coffee shop? What is what does that look like 10 years from now? What do you
Yeah,
think?
yeah. I'm 27, so 37 for me. Um, I think that I will still be a producing real estate agent. I think though that at that point, my real goal is to not be as heavily involved in production,
Hmm.
meaning that I have a couple guys underneath me that I'm training and coaching and mentoring. I have potentially a full-time buyer's agent that works with all of my buyers, potentially like a some sort of listing agent even. And I'm kind of just maybe the face of the brand that still is going, and kind of just the head organizer. But that also could change, because yes, like I want to really buy as many properties as I can before then. So if at some point I get to a place where my investment properties are making me enough income and supporting my family and I before then, like maybe I will be out, right? But there's a part of me that I do like the business a lot. There's a lot of opportunity in the business. So retirement out of the industry doesn't necessarily mean like I'm not going to be involved in it, because there is I just have poured so much time, energy, and effort into it that I don't think I could potentially maybe ever completely leave and be out of it, because I really do love the industry and I love helping new agents, and I love helping people buy and sell homes and invest in homes, that I don't think I will ever completely be out of it, but
Yep.
it'll be way less of it.
Yep. Yep, that makes sense. Who knows, dude? I mean, 10 years from now, we might be doing something completely different. I mean, just never know.
Yep.
Hopefully you can start spending a little time in the winter out of the cold. Actually, wait, if I remember right, do you enjoy the cold?
I enjoy the cold. I mean, I think I enjoy December, and then January, February, I'm like, okay, I don't like this
Yeah,
anymore.
man, I don't know
Oh,
how you do it. Oh,
yeah,
that's
where to
rough up
go
there.
skiing and playing hockey outside and those types of things. But yeah, once Christmas comes and goes and New Year's, I'm like, all right, let's speed this along.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so one of my last questions, again, thinking about some of my younger buddies who have been thinking about getting into real estate, or maybe it's not even real estate advice in specific, but if you could go back and give yourself some advice, like in the business sense, can you think of anything that pops into mind just in terms of like you would to fast track to where you are now, you'd do something different, or maybe you would focus on learning something, or is there
Hmm.
anything that you can think of that kind of pops into mind?
What first comes to my mind is kind of goes back to like that it factor I mentioned about in what it takes to kind of be a successful real estate agent is, I think in business in general, like, people say relationships are all, which they are. But I would say even before then, like before that, like you need to build all these relationships, which you do, right? But before then, there's a piece that needs to happen. And that piece is like your own personal people skills. Like
Mm,
if you are a very analytical person, that is awesome. That is not me. I am analytical at times, but if you are very analytical and cannot relate to a ton of people, or even want to relate to a ton of people, then how can you potentially develop all those relationships? Like you need to, and I'm saying that from I'm an introvert. Like people always think that I'm very extroverted, which I am. I know I always joke with my girlfriend, like I could talk to a wall if I needed to. Like I'm the guy that walks into a room and like I'll immediately just find like some new people to meet and talk to, right? But that's a skill that I've developed, like with unintentionally, I've developed that. I grew up extremely introverted, face got red, got skin rashes from like, doing public speaking in front of classes. That was me, right?
Yep.
Like, think of absolute introvert. And then I pushed and pushed and forced myself through high school and through college to get more involved, more confident in myself, more conversations, more failures, more awkward conversations, more good conversations. And now I know that I can probably meet anybody, and I mean anybody, and find something like that I can connect with them on, whether it's personal, life, business, relationships, fitness, and that comes from doing a lot of things too, right? But I think before you can really develop all of these relationships that people talk about in business, whether it's in real estate, sales, doesn't matter, right? You need to be the person that genuinely cares about people, genuinely wants to get to know people, and have those right skills to like actually talk with someone and not be this awkward overthinker, which I've seen over and over again, where people think there's this script that I'm using. I'm not using a script. I'm just talking with people, asking them questions, getting to know more about them. And that's it. Like, it doesn't seem forced, it doesn't seem awkward, but that's just who I am. And I've developed those skills unintentionally, somehow, some way, by the grace of God. He gave those to me. But if I was a person looking back, that matters a lot. And you need to focus and work on that before you can build all these relationships. Because if you don't have that, you're going to go in and try to like forcefully make these relationships, or it might be like awkwardness, and then you're going to be like feeling down on yourself because you're like, I can't make any relationships, or it's awkward for me to make relationships, I can't be successful. Well, no, you can be successful, but you got to work on yourself and your people skills and your communication skills first before you can go out there and put yourself out there in the world to develop some relationships.
For sure, dude. I love that. And as you're talking, it made me think of a conversation I was just having with a couple of buddies, kind of unrelated, but I just want to get your thoughts. People might think this is stupid. Do you find yourself, because I find myself doing this, I tend to mirror people. So what I mean by that is like if they are dressed, if I know that they're going to be dressed a certain way, I might also like change a little bit of the way I'm dressing to like mirror them, or like here's a specific situation I'm thinking of. And again, this sounds so dumb and people are going to be judging me for this. But okay, so if I know I'm gonna go be meeting a contractor who's like, a good old boy, like, redneck from the sticks. Like I'll throw on my work boots and like, an old like hoodie or something, and kind of like try to like dress down versus like if I'm gonna go meet a banker, I'm like trying to look a lot nicer. And I don't know why I brought this up, but like I'm just curious. Do you ever find yourself doing that where you're like mirroring people, or like you're showing a client who's like maybe super animated, and so your like energy level just automatically like tries to match theirs more? Or
Mm.
am I just crazy?
Mm. Thinking
Because
about.
here, but before you answer, I'll say like the group that I was talking about, like half the guys were saying like yes, they did. They tried to mirror people in some capacity, but then half of them were like no, like I'm always myself no matter what. And I I think that the reason why I mirror people is some of it has to do with like I probably care too much what people think.
Yeah.
Um, but that was like some of the comments from the other guys. So I don't know what what are your
Like my
thoughts?
gut reaction is no. I don't mirror people. And this is gonna goes back to even like the developing your people skills,
Mm,
because I think I know confidently I could have a great conversation with a billionaire and a great conversation with a person that it just got their first job and is out of like maybe homeless camp or something like that. Like,
yep.
I can engage with the millionaires of the world, and I can engage with the people that are from the sticks out in northern Minnesota or whatever. I can engage with anybody. And I think the way that I dress, I'm never the suit and tie guy. Um, I am typically going to be in some sort of pants with like moderate sort of boots or shoes, and then like a long sleeve shirt, like a casual long sleeve shirt, and my hat, or not my hat sometimes. Like, it's if I go into like a listing appointment or something like that, maybe I probably won't have my hat on, but like other than that, like I'm not trying to be like, oh, I'm going to meet with $1 million buyer. I'm going to dress a certain way
Mm,
because I want it to be more, you enjoy my presence and my communication and the energy that I bring versus somebody else. And I bring the same energy if I'm, and I like, there's people that are very analytical. And there's people that are very like amiable. Amiable are the very expressive people that are like kind of go, go, go. I'm like that. We're more analytical, right? But I'll go into those same conversations. I'm going to go meet with a very analytical investor and a very amiable, like, um, first time home buyer or something like that. Like, I will enter those with the same energy as anybody else. The only difference is I might just tailor some of the things that I talk about, right? Because if I
yep.
start if I start talking about numbers after numbers after numbers after numbers with an amiable person, then they are going to be like, what the heck is Jade right? I don't want to talk about numbers. This doesn't interest me, right? I want to talk about how cool houses are and the styles and the kitchens and those types of things. Versus if I go into an analytical conversation with a person and they are like, and I start talking about how cool these kitchen countertops are, or this type of that kind of stuff, they're gonna be like, bro, I don't care. I don't. It doesn't matter to me. I'm curious only about the numbers, right?
Yep.
You do, and you might be, some of your listeners might be like, Jay, what's amiable even mean? Well, go look it up. Go
I
look
don't
up.
think I've ever heard of that word before, to be
Yeah, go look
honest.
up the 4 types of personalities. Like there's different personalities that you, as a strong communicator, that is what matters more than your appearance,
Yeah.
my opinion, because I can tailor my content. If I know you're analytical, I'm going to talk all about the numbers. And if I'm in a showing with you, I'm going to talk about the age of the water heater, the roof, those types of things, like very nitpicky stuff that I know is going through those analytical minds. Or if I'm in a showing with an amiable person, I'm going to bring those things up so that they are obviously aware of those things. But I'm also then going to talk more about how awesome this kitchen is, or the things that I don't like about the kitchen that they might be thinking about, because that's what they care about. They care about that. An analytical person cares about the numbers. And you need
Yep.
to be able to address those people the same way using your communication, not the way you dress,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
I love it. I love it. All right, dude. I know you're busy, so I gotta let you run. But if people wanted to, I don't know, follow, I'm not sure how active you still are on like social media, but is there a place that people maybe can just check you
Yeah.
out, see your face, who you are?
Yeah, I'm Jade Rowe. So it's J as in Jack, A as in Apple, D as in dog, D as in dog, E as in echo. So that's 2 Ds. Jade Rowe, ROWE, on Facebook or Instagram. You'll be able to find me. I don't even know what my Instagram handle is, but I'm probably more active on Facebook than Instagram. And that's one of the big shifts that I'm going to be making is, I'm already active on social media, but I'm going to be a lot more active on social media. So you can check out my LinkedIn, just Jade Rowe, any of those sites. If you want to check out my real estate stuff, it's jade.teamsteadyrealestate.com. That's my website. If you have questions of stuff, feel free to DM me or text me. If you do call me, sometimes don't answer right away. Just leave me a voicemail. But I mean, anybody can reach out and chat. I'd be more than
Yeah.
happy to chat with you.
Dude, that's the one thing about being a realtor. Your phone number's everywhere. Like all people have
Yeah,
to do is Google your name because I'll have tenants call me my personal cell phone number, which all of my tenants get a different business number of mine.
same.
And I'm like, how in the world did you get my phone number? And I mean, dude, you just Google my name and my phone number pops right up. So
Kind of is what it is. Oh, I will actually say one thing here. This has just came to my mind, that I'm doing for the first time, and I'm kind of having people do that I work with. This is not about real estate agent stuff, but more about real estate investment. You manage your own stuff, obviously, right? Like
I do.
you do. Yep. I manage my own stuff right now too. And if you have the ability to, this is my personal opinion. I know it might not be perfect, but if you have the ability to make your tenants not know that you're the owner, that is going to be great. And what I mean by that is, like, here's an example. I live in a duplex myself. Okay. My downstairs tenant, I'm moving him in. The whole process, he thinks I'm the property manager. I set him up as I'm the property manager. I communicate with this owners. They've hired me to do the rent collection, the screening, everything. Right. I run everything by them, but I'm just a property manager. Right. And why do I do that? I do that to create space between them and me. Right. And then if I have to be the bad guy and be like, dude, your music is too loud or this happened, it's not me being the bad guy. It's, hey, the owners literally need you to do this, this, and this because of XYZ. And they're not like, there's no like, oh, but Jade, like, come on, man. Like, dude, I'm just the property manager. I'm telling you
Yeah.
what they're telling me. And yes, the business phone thing is great, obviously. But even me, like, let's just say I wanted to use my number, like, and they found me, like, okay, yeah, I'm a real estate agent. That's what I do. But I'm not the owner of this property. I just the property manager. I have a family friend connection or whatever you want to make up.
Yeah.
I don't
So
care.
is that does the tenant that you live with in your duplex,
Yep.
do they know you're the owner?
Nope.
Really? Wow.
No, I say I'm up. I live upstairs. You can any maintenance stuff. You come to me, and I'll let the owners know. Call me, text me. Here's my number. You can use. Knock on my door if something's urgent. But I live upstairs, and I will let them know ASAP.
Do you guys ever just like vent to each other like, man, that owner, I can't stand that guy, like he won't fix
Well,
that thing, or what a
he
guy.
hasn't. Maybe if it comes to that, I totally would. If it comes to that, I totally would. I just don't. I just don't want that. I don't want them to know that I'm the owner because people are good. I try to get the best tenants I can, but there's a fear in me that's like, if I know if all of my tenants know that I'm the owner, they might just, and they're the ones that are communicating with me directly. They might. It just takes one bad tenant to like use you and
Oh,
abuse
for
you,
sure.
tie into your emotions or whatever, versus you just being the manager and being the bad guy. And because I do like people, right? Like I do have a hard time. It's probably my weakness is like I do have that kind of like, okay, we'll let it slide or we'll figure
Hmm.
it out. But I also as an investor and the property manager, there's a time to be the bad guy, and I don't want that. I don't want that to be put on me. I want to be put on the quote unquote owner who's not me.
Yeah, and I wish that I was more set up that way. I try to be, but unfortunately, like I live in a pretty small area, even a town of 40,000 people is a small town. And so very quickly, like, oh, that 10 unit apartment building is owned by, whoever, Kyle. And it's like it's pretty hard to like hide.
Got it.
So
Yeah, that's I don't have to deal with that. My properties are in large cities, larger.
yeah. Well, it's been fun to watch you grow your business. I mean, like real quick, just I should have talked about this earlier, but my perspective on you over the last few years is okay, so we met in like I don't remember what year it was, like 2018 or something like
2019 actually. It was 2019, I
was it
think.
really? Okay. So I was in a place in my business where I had actually moved down to Tennessee, not really sure what I was going to do. And Jade, I think that you were in a similar phase of life where you were like potentially going to make a change.
Mhm.
Um, and you decided to become a realtor. And dude, you just put your head down and just did it. And
Yep.
it's like somehow you were able to keep up the blinders and not worry about what everyone else was doing. And that's something I've always struggled with is like I have a hard time committing to one thing and then not getting distracted by like, oh, what are these guys investing in? Or oh, maybe I should be doing this. It's like, dude, I don't know how you did it, but you just boom, just so focused. Uh and I don't know. It's like becoming a realtor, you made it sound fairly easy earlier
Mhm.
and you don't give yourself enough credit because like, dude, you're crushing it.
Yeah, I think part of that probably comes from when I was still working my W-2 job and was learning real estate kind of on the side. I and probably even when like you and I met, I was kind of just in a place of like confusion because there's so many options, there's so many things you can do, so many things you can invest in. And I think when I finally found the squad that I'm on and the kind of the job, it just finally kind of for me in my mind felt right, and it was kind of a crystal clear picture of like how this can help me. And now I'm in a place where I'm already like I'm trying to reinvent myself again because it's like I had these goals of what I wanted to do when I started out. And like you said, I put my blinders on and I saw exactly how I'm gonna get there. And then I kind of did it and I went above that. And now I'm like, oh wow, okay, now what's next, right? And that's where the shift and the change in kind of my mindset and different things is kind of happening because yeah, it's I want to keep my blinders on, but I'm just like re-evaluating
Yeah,
things, do things because I hit the quote unquote goal that I wanted to do when I started, and it was just crystal clear, and now it's kind of not as crystal clear again, so I'm trying to figure it back out.
for sure. It's like when you hit that ceiling, it's like, okay, I hit the ceiling now. Well, you haven't hit the ceiling, but you figured out what works. And now it's
I
like, okay,
put
well,
the
how,
I hit the ceiling that I put on myself for sure. Like I put this ceiling on, and then you hit it, and you're like, you bust through it. And you're like, okay, oh wow, okay, let's. What do we got to do now? And I think the only way to do that, and that's not me saying that from like a cocky, arrogant way at all, but I think the only way to like put yourself, make a reasonable slash exciting slash little scary goal or ceiling on yourself, and then put the blinders on until you hit that ceiling. And then once you hit that ceiling, figure out what you want to do after that.
you need to call me like once a week and make sure, hey, Kyle, are the blinders on this week? Are the
Yeah.
blinders on? Are you focused?
Yep.
Because it's, dude, it's still, it's a struggle of mine. And that's honestly, I know we're all wired a little bit differently. Like some people are more dreamers than others. But yeah, dude, it's tough for me to just like put my head down and focus. It's
You
just
gotta
like,
figure out like you gotta figure out like what's that question about like I wouldn't even say I think the question about the 10 year is sometimes a little deceiving. I think like the 3 year question is almost better. Like
mm,
what's your 3 year vision, right? Or like what's gonna make you and Devin, right?
yeah, yeah.
What's gonna make you and Devin the most successful or the best position and just pick one thing and run with it, right? And maybe keep a little of a few things on the side if you want. But yeah, man, I think it's just in real estate in general. Um, there's you just have to focus on literally one thing. And I get that question all the time, like, what's next? What's next for me? I don't know, but I know that I'm 100% dialed in on just growing my sales business for now, and then buying property when I can. And do I want
Cool.
to do
Well,
do I want to do
uh,
syndication? I don't know. Do I want to do commercial? I don't know. Do I want to do apartments? I don't know. We're gonna figure that out. But right now, building my sales business. That's it.
you need to hire a cameraman to just follow you around because I think people find that so interesting. You do a really good job with like Facebook Lives, which is awesome. But dude, just like hire a cameraman to follow you around all the time. That'd be awesome.
Maybe I'll do
Day in the
that
life.
one
Yeah.
day.
All right, man. I'm gonna let you go. Thanks again for being
Yeah, man.
on the trenches, and hopefully we'll catch up with you soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Kyle.
All right. See ya.